Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we are going to be continuing our discussion on managing and maintaining a Linux Mint system. And today I want to talk a little bit about software, installing software and things like that. Of course, with Linux Mint and most other Linux distributions, you don't have to go onto the internet and download software in weird places like you still often do on Windows. Of course, they are improving that quite a bit with the Microsoft Store. But even the Microsoft Store, some people are getting some stuff in there that's a little shady. There's not really any extra eyes. Whereas on Linux, there is a lot of extra eyes looking at all of the software available for install. And we do want to talk about software today. So on Linux Mint, there is a software manager. You can find it by default in the menu, or you can just kind of search for software manager in the menu there. And this is going to give us a lot of different software to install. Now, software comes in a couple different varieties. One of those is software that is in the repository. That is the free and open source code that has been audited by the Linux distribution team to install under the underlining of the operating system. The other way is FlatHub. This is one of the open source containerized systems. The advantage of FlatHub and Flatpaks is really what they're called. FlatHub is the biggest repository for them. The Flatpaks are containerized, meaning they can be a little bit more secure, and they do work consistently across most Linux distributions. So if something is available as a Flatpak, you can use it on whatever Linux distribution you want. The downside of them is recently we're seeing way too many updates in them. They're way larger files. They take a lot longer to update. And sometimes they just have a few compatibility issues, but this is generally mostly due to being as secure and containerized as they are. So while that can be a downside, it's actually a positive downside. So as far as installing software, inside of your software store here, you'll see some featured options, and then we see a lot of different things like here's fonts. They even have some fonts. Now this will actually allow you to install the core Microsoft fonts under Office. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Looks like I didn't update the cache since I did the update system. So let's go ahead and do that before we continue on further. All right, I reset the whole cache here, and then now, of course, we go into fonts. There's actually a lot more. There are a lot of fonts you can install on Linux that are there. Here's your Office. So you can see there's a lot of things. Here's Cherry Tree, excellent note-taking application. There's Text Studio, so a LaTeX editor. There's, of course, the LibreOffice suite is all installed on Linux Mint. And then there's just a lot of other stuff here. Sigil, if you want to do ebook editing, things like that. So there's just a lot of really cool applications inside of the whole system. Now you can sort just Flatpaks by clicking on the Flatpak system. Now if you are going to be using Flatpaks and you are concerned a little bit about the permissions and using them, I'd highly recommend installing two of them. One of those is Flatseal. This actually allows you to manage permissions and fine-tune the detailed options inside of your individual Flatpaks. The other one is called Warehouse. I'm not sure if I have Warehouse installed on this one. Let me go ahead and have a look. If I can remember how to spell warehouse. There you go. So I don't have it installed over here. Warehouse allows you to easily install, uninstall, and actually even delete some of the meta packages that are left behind when you remove a Flatpak. So Warehouse is also an excellent Flatpak to install. So you can actually search, but before you do that, consider, do you want to see the verified versus unverified? This is a new means that Flatpak has that is seeking to rein in some of the security potentials. And it is a little bit quirky. It's not a perfect system, but it is there. And let me show you, for example, if you happen to be a person that likes Google Chrome, Google Chrome, you'll see, has this red shield, and that means it is unverified. Now, this is a safe package. This is a weird example. It's actually put up here by an official developer of Chrome at Google. It's just not put up by the Google account itself. That's why it's not verified. It's kind of weird. Now, by default, Linux Mint is not going to show you unverified Flatpaks. Inside of your menu over here, if you go over to your preferences, this is actually where you need to turn this on. By default, this is turned off, and so you will not see any of those unverified Flatpaks. I personally don't care that much. I don't use a lot of Flatpaks anyway, so I turn those on because it also gives me an indication. If I see that red shield on a Flatpak, I'm a little bit... I don't know exactly what's going on with it, then what I'm actually going to do is do a little bit of research to figure it out. The other option is some of these applications will have a repository version and a Flatpak version. So if an app has multiple formats, you can set it to list all types, list only the Flatpak, or list only the system package. So let me show you what that means. So if I do a search for Kdenlive, which is going to be the software package that I use for doing our videos here, you'll see that there's two versions. This is the repository version of it. And if I click this, you'll see it says system package here and gives me all this information. And there's a flat hub version of it as well, which is this one. And that's what we saw over here. This one is from FlatHub, and if there's no indication here, it means it's the system package. So you can set it to say, if there's a Flatpak, only show me that. If there's a Flatpak in a system, only show me the system. I like seeing all of the options available. In fact, there's one Flatpak here that I want to install that I think is actually everywhere, and we're going to use this for a tutorial on another channel. So the package is called Manuscript, and there we have a repository version, and we have an unverified Flatpak version. So this version here in the repository is 0.16.1, and let's see if I can get information about this one. So 0.16.1. So it really doesn't matter where I install it from. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and install the system package here. Let's go ahead and just do that. We'll hit the install button. You'll see it's going to install a few extra things, and it's going to ask me for my password anytime I'm making a change. So you can actually, once that's installing, that won't take too long. It is a fairly small package. You'll see it's 30 megabytes to download, 200 megabytes. So it's downloaded. Here it's installing. And if the package is installed, you'll see a launch button show up. If it's not installed, you'll see the install button show up. So there it is. I can launch it or I can remove it. So if something is on the system I want to remove, I can do that. On Linux Mint, on Cinnamon, you can actually uninstall things from here as well, just by right-clicking on something in the menu. This does appear to be something that is unique to Linux Mint, as my other Cinnamon things. Let me just double-check this real quick. Yeah, I'm actually running an Arch with Cinnamon also next to this one. You cannot uninstall. So it's not just Cinnamon, it's just Linux Mint. You can uninstall packages from the menu as well. So there is how you can install various packages. Now, you can also install packages by the terminal. We talked about this in the update video as well. The terminal is not super scary. And in reality, I generally like doing things here. So if I do a sudo apt install, and let's just go with the same package, manuscript. Now, you do have to kind of know how to spell it better, so double check that. That looks correct. Enter your password here, and it will go ahead and search. Now, it does say here, hey, you already have the newest version, so it doesn't do anything. If I really want to, like if I'm having problems with it, I might show in here a reinstall tag, and this is going to reinstall it again, and it's going to overwrite the current install. So if a package gets corrupted or something, you can run that reinstall tag. You can do that in the terminal. You can't do that necessarily from the software store. So that is why people like the terminal. There's so many more options that you can use, and you can look up resources for the apt package manager and see all the different options that you have. So there you have a way to add different software. You can remove different software, and you have a lot of different software sources. Now, there's one more thing I want to point you to with software. And that is that sometimes you will have a software package that might be a little bit out of date in the software repositories. Particularly, this happens in Debian. It can happen in Ubuntu and other distributions as well. So as far as Ubuntu is running, Ubuntu has a system called a PPA. And this allows a developer of a software to release an absolute up-to-date version of it in real time. And so if you go into your software sources, we looked at this before when we did our update video. Look in here, there's a PPA tab. The PPA tab is what actually tells you this is the places where you can install the developer's repository, which will override the repository on your main Ubuntu system and enable you to install applications. So you'll see here that I have 3 PPAs installed, but actually only 2 of them are active. Kdenlive, it is inactive because the version that the repository has is exactly the version I like and want to keep using. So I have dechecked that so nothing changes in that. As far as OBS is concerned, OBS does have some things in the current latest release that it doesn't have in the repository. So I've enabled that PPA so the version of OBS I'm running on this computer is greater than the version that is running in the repository. And you'll see the same thing there on KeePass XC. And the reason I'm running this is KeePass XC here, which I'm not going to boot, OPSEC reasons there. The latest version with the PPA allows you to manage your passkeys, whereas the repository version does not. So you can always add those, and really that's that place there I will possibly consider a little bit more risky to do because you do have to rely on good sources of information from the internet. Let me just show you what you might look for though. In this case of KeePass XC, I'm going to do KeePass XC. I'm going to do a PPA. Doing a search for this. So here's your download, and there's more information there. Let's just go to their original page here. And so here they have different versions. Here's official versions here. Here's how to do Flatpaks. Here's how to do the snaps. And here is the Ubuntu PPA. So we are on the official place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this guy down into the terminal, or I can copy that and add it right here. So I can just copy this guy here, right there, and I can paste it right there like that and hit OK, which I'm not going to do because this is already added. Once you add a new PPA, you always are going to want to update your cache. So if you remember from our update video, sudo apt update is what does our cache. And then we did talk about the install here. So once the repository is added and you update your cache, the version from this PPA is going to override what is in the repository. And so you will install the latest version of the software. So that's how the PPAs work. Now, let's go ahead and talk another brief moment here about Flatpaks. So this is the FlatHub application search. So you'll see here looking at, these are kind of like the top rated Flatpaks. The ones with the blue check mark are the truly verified. So you'll see that Google Chrome is high up in the list, but is not verified for the reasons we've just talked about. If you do like Google Chrome, this is a very, very safe version. It's not my cup of tea. I don't like Google Chrome, but it is there if you need it, and it is there available on every Linux distribution that supports Flatpaks, and that is almost all of them. Here's a Steam option, here's Telegram, Spotify, here's GIMP. So you can do, look at all these things. Oh, look at a duck station, quack, quack. Here's your OnlyOffice if you're looking for a more Microsoft Office-like system. So there's a lot of different things in here, and you can just search around for it. You can sort by your various categories. You can look at what is free, what is proprietary. So there's a lot of cool things here. So let's go ahead and have a look at that package that I installed called Manuscript. Now, the downsides of Flatpak. Flatpak is very easy to manage as far as installing things or not. So if we do simply a Flatpak update, this is actually going to show us if there's anything that we need to do. So you can see here that everything is up to date. There's nothing to do. If I do a Flatpak list, it'll show me all the Flatpaks installed on the system. And it does that easily through the terminal. Now, where Flatpak has a problem is installing them, because it's not as simple as Flatpak install manuscript. You actually have to use the crazy psycho code that they have, which is usually a 3-name part. So to install it, we actually have to install it by ch.theologeek.manuscript. So literally that's what we'd have to do. So we'd have to install like this, Flatpak install FlatHub, which tells it to grab it from the FlatHub repository, and then the whole thing there. So that's what you'd have to do to install it. Let me go ahead and show you with Warehouse, because I think Warehouse should be on this since I do use it. So here's Warehouse. So if I want to install it, I could just come down here and hit this. Of course, super easy to install just up here. I'm just showing you how to do this from the terminal. So Flatpak install flathub io.github.flattool.warehouse. That's what it is. It's going to ask us, do you want to install this? I'll hit yes. And it's going to make these changes. And it looks like everything there looks like the only one that's big is that org platform. But I should already have that installed, so that shouldn't take too much time to do. It says up to 394 megabytes. It'll probably be a little bit less than that. We'll go ahead and let this guy install itself, and then I'll show you why I recommend that you use this. All right, so that is now installed. So that's how you do that. Let's exit out of there. And now let me show you why I like using Warehouse. If you're using Flatpaks, I'd recommend both Warehouse and FlatSeal. So this will show us a list of all the Flatpaks, but we have a nice new GUI way of managing it. So here is Brave, and you can see the installed size. We can open the folder. We can uninstall it. Here's your uninstall button. You can open it. And this is all of the information that we have on it. So if you do uninstall something, let's see if there's anything old legacy here. I don't really use Tenacity anymore. But if you go to uninstall it, then it'll give you the option, do you want to uninstall all of the stuff that came with it? Here's your remotes. So if I want to add different remotes, there are several different organizations that might run their own stores. So I can easily add those from here, which is something there's not an easy way to do inside Linux Mint itself. So here's various things that you can add. So these are the popular ones. So Fedora runs its own Flatpak server. There's a GNOME Nightly for everything to test, beta test GNOME. So there's a lot of cool things you can do there. Here's the user data. So you can look at what user data is there. You can delete the user data, which will basically restore the Flatpak to its original source. You can do snapshots of things if you want, and you can easily install packages here by searching for a package. So let's look at that manuscript again here. Ooh, of course, if I got to type it right. There you go. So you can see it's right here. And it looks like there's a couple different places. Oh, no, those are just ones that are like it. So there's these two here are the ones that we have. All right, so there is what you can do inside of Warehouse. Well, we're on this run. Let's go ahead and have a look at FlatSeal as well. This really is more of a security application where you can come over here, and these are all of the various permissions that various Flatpaks are allowed to do and manage. And so if you're having problems, for example, if you're using something like a YubiKey, you might need to come into here and you might need to enable hardware to be accessed, because by default it doesn't. I'm trying to remember exactly where that one is. It's going to be one, it's can't remember exactly which one it is. Oh, all devices. This is it here. So like webcams, YubiKeys, things like that. You'd want to toggle this guy on. Some of them by default, that's turned off. Like I think it's turned off by default on LibreWolf. So by default, I can't use a YubiKey. I would have to do this in order to use the YubiKey. It gives us this if it has been changed by the user. So you see that out of the box, the Flatpak for Brave will allow you to use a YubiKey, but out of the box, the Flatpak for LibreWolf will not. So we can go ahead and toggle anything. If you're having issues with permissions, you can do it here. Otherwise, you're stuck with a bunch of terminal commands to manage your various elements. But it doesn't do all of the cache and data file stuff the Warehouse does. But these two applications, FlatSeal and Warehouse, are two very critical applications to install if you plan on using Flatpaks as part of your system. So there is how to install, manage, remove, and consider your various software inside of Linux Mint. So I encourage you to have a look at it, search for different software, and if you're making the jump over here to Linux from Windows, there might be one or two software applications that you're like, ooh, I really like this software application. I'm trying to remember what the one software is that one friend of mine had, but I think it might have been Convert. Might have been this one here. Just type in the software you're looking for, and then you can go ahead and see various alternatives. So suggest alternatives. Let's see, Convert now. Let's see what this looks like. Here's alternatives. So you can look around. That's definitely not the software we were looking at. Oh, no, maybe it was, because I installed Convert All on his Linux system because he was using something else on Windows that was not available on Linux. Actually, it wasn't available on the new version of Windows either. That was, this is the place to go. Searching for the software that you need or an alternative to, you can find it. Let's just do it with a simple, easy one. Let's just say Word, Microsoft Word. This is something a lot of people use, and a lot of people use it because they just think this is the golden standard. No, it's just the most frequently used because it's been forced in with, in there with the ways that Microsoft does. So here is Microsoft Word. What you can do, click this alternatives button, and it will tell you the best alternatives to it. In my opinion, the absolute best alternative is LibreOffice, like LibreWriter. There's OnlyOffice. This does a better job of matching the UI of Windows, and some people suggest that it has better compatibility. Here's Google Docs, of course. OpenOffice. This is not really as up to date. WPS Writer. This one is not open source, but it does have options to install on Linux if you need it. Here's TextMaker. So there's a lot of different options that you have. Alternative2.net is an excellent website to go to if you are switching to Linux and you're looking for an alternative to an application that you like using on Windows. You can just search by here, by the way, and just say, let's pull this guy down and just say, I want something that, let's just say you don't care as much about open source as I do. Just show me everything that works on Linux. So now it's just going to sort me and just show me things that are available on Linux. So if something in that list was not available on Linux, it will now be missing. So that's kind of what we get. All right, so there is our information on Linux Mint, managing your software. Let me know your thoughts, other questions that you have about managing Linux Mint in the comments down below.